Hello everyone, my name is Paul Third, and this week I want to talk to you about the speaker that's sitting behind me, which is the Focal Shape 65. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, I have been demoing a lot of speakers over the past 6 months to a year, just in my studio, just to kind of find speakers that I feel I could mix on and will translate in the way that were intended. That's the main goal. I've not really filmed that as of yet, especially under £1,000. However, the focal shapes were the ones that I felt that I was getting the most consistent translation with. But the issue was that I found that they were only translating a certain way, in a way that wasn't really intended. Now, I was offered a price to buy them, and I did think long and hard about it, but I've decided to hand them back. Now, it may be very, very strange to many people to have somebody, admit that they are achieving pretty good translation on headphones and speakers to the point where, like my good friend Ed Thorne that I do the Working Audio Tools podcast with, he said to me that one of the mixes I sent him were arguably one of the best mixes that I'd done in my career. He thought that the speaker translation was amazing, as was the headphone translation. It's actually on my website. It's a song called Old Fashioned Way by Todd Kessler. It was a multi-track that was mixed by Mark Daniel Nelson originally. Now, many people I've sent that to have told me, Paul, that's a great mix. It's got a lot of energy to it. The vocals are nice and forward. It's just a very energetic, kind of forward sounding mix. To the point where, my good friend and mentor, Emre Çelik, that we had on the podcast last week, he said to me that if I would have gave that to producers in Turkey, that I would get accepted. Now, as great as it was to get, like my mastering engineer telling me, yeah, this is a great mix, Paul, yeah, and everybody was like, yeah, Paul, the focal shapes, like you're getting really kind of good translation on there. The niggling thing about the shape mix for me and the mixes that I'd done after that were that they weren't really as I intended. Like, they don't, the way that they translate consistently to other systems, it's not really the way that they sound in the room, and that annoys me. Now, I was kind of swaying back and forth, and it was plaguing me for a while, because there are other things that make the shapes really good for this room. Like, I can have them, one to say like maybe 1.2 meter equilateral triangle. I can have them like a meter distance away from me, and they don't suffer like the 80 to 100 hertz null that I get with the Kalis. Like when I put the Kali IN5s in that exact same position, I get a really bad null. But it must be to do with the passive radiators that they've got on the side. It just completely misses the null, and it measures like unbelievably flat. And actually left and right measure so unbelievably consistent. Like they're really forward sounding. Like the phase coherence with the shapes is remarkable. Like they're so forward sounding, you're like, wow, like vocal levels are so easy. Kick, snare, bass, you're just like, wow, this is an absolute doddle. And, you end the mix and you're like, yeah, sounds that way and happy days. Let's just fucking mix like that. But I've just got this niggling thing in the back of my mind that's telling me, Paul, it's only translating that way. And when you mix on them, it's only going to sound that way. And that's not the way that it sounds to you in the room. So when I'm giving a client a mix that I've made on the shapes, it's not really the intention that I had for that mix in the room, which is, it's like a catch-22. It's not going to translate the way that I want it to translate, but it translates in a way that, the client and other people may like on different systems. Many people would be like, Paul, it's a no-brainer. It measures well in the room. It's got the forwardness that you like, and it translates relatively well. Buy them. It's a no-brainer. But there's other factors that were just like niggling at me. It's almost like I'm mixing an LCR, because when you mix on them, it's like vocal, kick, bass, snare. All your center elements are like there, and you can just place those vocal levels and those bass levels and drum levels so unbelievably easy. But what I find that you end up doing is you just end up panning everything left and right, because I don't feel the soundstage is very good on them. That's why I said it feels like mixing an LCR a little bit with them. Say like with the Focal Alpha Twins, I did say they've got a very, very good soundstage. As much as tonally, they just make my mixes sound muddy and pillowy and really soft. I felt that I could, place reverb tails and panning, very well. I felt they had a lot of good depth in them. Depth-wise, I think it's something that the focal shapes struggle with because they are very forward. They're as forward as, say, the Presonus, but not in a harsh, fatiguing way. Here is everything. Mix me, right? Put me here, put me there. It's like everything kind of tells you where it should be. But if I was panning something, right? Say, for example, I've got a hi-hat, and I'm like, right, okay, I want to pan it maybe, 20%. And then I move to 30%. And 40%. But between that 20 and 40%, I can't really hear much of a difference, which kind of, when I was mixing them, I just felt that I was like, yeah, just like to get some width out of it, to get some like feeling that it was somewhere. I was panning them all, everything really wide, and it just kind of felt like an LCR mix, which I don't actually like. And it translated that way because I wasn't really getting the feel of the sim stage. Now, for many people listening, this sounds perfect. This is the way I want my mixes to sound. I want the whole CLA kind of style LCR sound where I've got my punch, I've got like the vocal forward, I've got, the energy in the mix. Yeah, you can definitely get that on the focal shapes. But for somebody like me that's a very creative panner and enjoys placing things in the stereo image a certain way, it's a bit off-putting. Now, a part of me was like, right, why don't I just combine it with the headphones that I've got? Like, I've got HE1000 SEs, arguably the best sound stage you'll ever hear in your life. I don't even think there's any speakers on this planet that's got the sound stage as that. You'll never hear your mixes as tall and as wide with as much resolution as the HEs. So I was like, I could combine them with the headphones and, get a mix that way. But I just was finding that when I did another two mixes, it was the same thing that was happening all the time. It was sounding a certain way in the room, and then when I was listening to it on other systems, it was that same bass was just really loud and prominent. Kick was punching, snare was punching, vocal was loud enough. It was like the center image was like, I take precedence, everything else left and right. That's where you live. And that's just not the way that I really want to mix. Now, I'm not going to lie. If the distributor or Focal said to me, Paul, we'll let you keep the shapes, I would have kept them. And if I was doing a country or a rock mix or something that wanted that sound, I would go to them and it would do that perfect kind of sound. That whatever translation that's doing, it's actually, look, just check the mix out and let me know if you think the same. When I listen to it on other systems, the Todd Kessler mix that's on my website, on my portfolio, I get frustrated because I feel that the snare's a little bit too loud. Everything's just a little bit too punchy. And a lot of people seem to like it, but it's not the way I wanted it to sound. So, I was umming and ahhing, and I was like, Paul, just buy them, because like you've not really got anything else in the studio speaker-wise that you feel gives you some form of like really, really, really consistent translation, especially to headphones. But, I just decided against it. And I'm just going to keep on this journey and trying different speakers till I find a speaker that sings to me. Honestly, I feel that speakers talk to you and sing to you, and they sing to me in a way that when I'm done, I listen on other systems and it just sounds the same or relatively the same on other systems, that same characteristic. Now, Focals seem to do this quite a lot, where they have a house sound. If you speak to people, especially a lot of professionals that have mixed on Focals, many will tell you they don't like them because they have a house sound. Emra, for example, he had said to me that he wasn't very fond of the Focals because they made him mix that very forward way, to the point where when he gets, mixes coming into master, he said he's got quite a good judgment of when somebody's mixed on Focals. I don't know if it's maybe the ones with the beryllium tweeters, maybe the ST range or whatever, but he says, I normally can tell in Turkey when I've received something to master and somebody's mixed on Focals. And I know quite a few other engineers, like professional industry engineers, that said to me, Paul, I just couldn't mix on them. I know one engineer in particular that said to me, Paul, I just couldn't mix snares on the Focals. Like, the clients were not happy. I was just like, why am I struggling to get the bare minimum of what this genre requires? And, he moved to other speakers and he's like, yeah, I've never ever looked back since. But then you get other people where it seems to be that the house sound is that sound for them and that's the sound that they want. I know, again, a few other mixers that are quite successful that mix on focals and do a great job. And it just like reminds me how bloody personal speakers are and why this journey is so important. Because unless you've done what I've done, which is mixed on like, I don't know, 7 different pairs of speakers I've mixed on so far, you won't know, what speaker sings best to you. Now, many people have said to me it's because I've tried mostly two-ways. And obviously the Kali IN5s and the UNFs that I've got in front of me right now, I've decided to keep them. They are coaxial three-ways, so again, they're not like a traditional three-way. Many people have said to me, Paul, you need to get proper three-ways in. So I don't know if Head are going to send me the type 15s? 14s, I can't remember. It's the three-way heads, because Ed's just been sent them. So I want to get his view on them, but I also want to try them myself. Because to be honest, I think that's where my head is, that I've tried the two-ways, I've tried budget two-ways, and I can hear the limitations. And I do feel that there is a bit of a translation issue going on. In regards to the Kali LP range, as I said last week, the Atmos mix that I did, on in-ears first, by the way. I know, like, Paul, in-ears? Honestly, they're £600 in-ears. They're called Oracle Mark III from The Audio. My days, they are the most tonally accurate IEMs I've ever mixed on, and I couldn't believe that they just translated unbelievably well. And, when I went to the Kalis and I did the Atmos mix, I sent that Atmos mix to Mark from Present Day Productions, and he was like, yep, sounds great, Paul's translated really well. And, I felt that, again, it translated well to headphones. But when Ed had listened to the stereo fold-down, he felt that the mix worked incredibly well on headphones, but he was like a bit unsure about it on speakers. And then that makes me think, is that because Ed likes to hear things a certain way in speakers? I'm trying to translate to one person, when the aim of audio engineering from an industry point of view is you want to translate to as many systems as possible. And the more you get into it, the more you're just like, oh my God, this is such a minefield. And, that's why I think many people change speakers all the time. Like, there's lots and lots of engineers that you've seen that have had maybe 10, 12, 15 different pairs of speakers over their career. You've started at Genelecs, and then they maybe went to KRKs for a bit, and they had Tannoys and had NS10s, and then they went to Big Mains, and they went to Augsburgers, and then, they might have went to ATCs, PMCs, and now you've got people mixing on Amphions. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, even Ed, Ed's finding himself mixing more on the Amphions right now than the PSIs. And, it's just an absolute minefield, but it's a very personal minefield, and I am enjoying the journey, as frustrating as it is. But yeah, I just thought I would do a video just to talk very quickly as to my experience, and it is only my experience, why I'm handing them back, even though I have had a positive experience with them. It's just a translation issue that just I find very strange. The fact that I can mix a certain way in the room, but they consistently translate in a certain way outside of the room. I don't know, you might find maybe in 6 months to 8 months time, I might be like, no, what, I'll get the shapes back. I'll see if I can get a deal, and I might see if somebody's selling them second hand, and I might get them in, and you might find that on certain genres, if they need a certain sound, I'll do that. But as of now, no, they're going back, unfortunately. So in regards to like other videos, I don't know what other speakers I'm going to get, because I'm in the realm of going into like the 1,000 plus, 2,000, 3,000. I might get present day production in, because there was talk that they would maybe send me a pair of speakers to try out. I definitely want to try PMC6s. ATCs, I don't know. Again, it's trying to get somebody to send you a pair of ATCs, knowing that I'm not going to buy them. I don't have the money to pay fucking $3.5, $4 for a set of speakers. Should I get the Neumann, the 3 KH310s or whatever they're called, the three-ways? Should I get them in and try them out? There's certain things I want to try, but try not to get too distracted. So there you have it. There's my opinions on the Shape 65. Let me know your opinions if you've mixed on them. And actually give me your opinions on the focal sound. If you feel like there is a house sound, and how you've gotten on with that house sound. And yeah, let's just have a bit of a talk down below. So there you go. I've waffled enough for another week. My name is Paul Third, and I'll see you again whenever I see you.